using artificial intelligence to advance the model. Welcome to the public square, Mr. Rashidi.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation.
Very good.
It's a pleasure to be a part of the program.
Very nice to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, actually, as you can probably tell from the name, my background is Iran. I was born in Iran, and then my family moved to the US. So I got my education, part of my education in the US, especially for higher education. And I actually traveled and lived in China for about 15 years, from 1990 to 2005. And recently, last 19 years, primarily back in the US, working on the development of our Center for Balanced Development, among other projects that I'm part of. Among them, Mr. Kamalabadi, that you interviewed
yes, last week.
A week ago or two. So basically, I think that the Center for Balanced Development was an idea that was initiated in China while living in China in the 1990s, and we were traveling to small cities around the country looking to see what are their development needs. And in that process, together with my dear friend, Dr. Farzam Kamalabadi, we probably traveled to over 200 cities.
Wow.
Just the two of us. I think he has done more. But and of course, we were trying to help them with various needs, including investment, including buying machinery, upgrading their facilities. And I realized that the concept of development in China was primarily just about the economy. We rarely talked about human sort of resources or the natural resources. And that made me start a process of asking that question, what is really development? And which led to this idea of a balanced development. Back then, sustainable development was popular, but I felt like the balance between social, economic, ecological, and within each category needed a lot of research, and to see how we can kind of bring it together. Of course, in the late 90s, there was an attempt at Harvard University. There was some research being done on what they call blended value, which also is about people, planet, profit. So, the current, of course, economic model is just about the economy. When we say a developed country or underdeveloped or developing, we're primarily referring to the economic sort of indicators.
That's right.
So basically, we're looking at a model that could really bring into play the various elements of what makes a civilization, which is the social aspect, the economic, and the ecological. So it gets to be very complicated. As you mentioned, we use artificial intelligence now to really come up with much more advanced models and how we can translate into action and into programs that can be initiated at the grassroots level as well as at the higher levels with the government and business.
Good. And in essence, what is it that the balanced development model aims to address in particular?
Well, I think it's the idea of the advancement of civilization. As we know, civilization goes back, as far as recorded civilization, we have early, so like Mesopotamia and Egypt and other civilization in the early stages over 2,000 years ago. They were very simple hierarchy, where it was basically, the serf and the workers were in a class by themselves, and then you had the higher. And so we've come a long way from that time, and especially during the Renaissance, there was a major attempt in Europe to really bring the various elements in, one person studying and becoming a polymath, like Da Vinci and Michelangelo and many of the artists. They were also had a dimension of, as well, being artists and engineers at the same time, or looking at science and art kind of in a cohesive way. And so, but it seems like at Industrial Revolution, and especially with the idea of capitalism, that model changed dramatically. The entire attention was focused more and more on economy. Actually, today in the US, where I live, the majority of one's time every day is spent on the economic activities because the cost of living is very high. So we don't have a lot of time for community or family. We don't have a lot of time for paying attention to the ecology or to nature. And it becomes in the long run, becomes problematic because we are not single dimensional. Humans are multidimensional. We have a social dimension, that's why we live in the cities and we create civilization, and we have a planet that we need to live in harmony with. And so those are issues that we're dealing with as an aftermath of economic activities that is contributing to global warming and climate change, or is creating conflict within communities and between nations. So the question is, what would be a model that would be ideal for future civilization? How can we address this issue of more of a comprehensive way of living? And so that's the main thrust of the...
Yeah, I thought sustainable development as espoused by, say, the United Nations was actually meant to address that.
Yeah, I think that sustainable development was initially primarily focused on the environment, because it was a reaction to the pollution and the climate change that was rapidly, sort of impacting the life of the global community. And it was about basically doing no harm, sustainable, keep it where it is, don't make it any worse. So with our model, we are looking at regenerative concept, where not only we're improving the ecosystem, but also we are in the process of making it even better. So it's a very different way of looking at it. And of course, we're looking at the social aspect as well, because what makes a society, what makes a country, what makes a community is to the degree that the community is able to work together in harmony, in peace. And so those are some of the issues that we're dealing as side issues, but we're kind of starting to look at economic models that not only economists are looking at the humanistic dimension of economy, but also they're looking at for example, digital economy as well as circular economy. How we can really try to minimize waste through a circular action of reusing a lot of our resources that now is going into trash. And so, so those are, I think, being explored in various institutions and especially higher education. But as far as we know right now, globally, the model that is dominant is supply and demand, and an economy that is based on scarcity. And we feel that now with the advent of AI, we have the opportunity to really find a correlation between the economy, society, and ecology. Not only that, but also in the context of time, to be aware of where we've come from, where we are, and where we could be going in the future, and at the future generation, as well as looking at the locality. So whether it's in the US or it's in Botswana or another country, another part of the world, each has its own sort of special flavor, special uniqueness that we need to bring into. So it's not like grafting one cookie, cutter that we graft, in every place.
One size fits all.
Yeah, exactly. So that we are looking at the model that would work and would be appropriate for Botswana, and it would be a gradual process, would be different than some of the parts.
That's right. And you just mentioned artificial intelligence.
Yes.
That you are now harnessing it as you progress this model. And how do you use artificial intelligence, and how do you see that evolving going forward?
We're now basically using artificial intelligence in all our research. Actually, we are constantly researching the latest development in artificial intelligence and sharing it with the network around the world. So that is one level of, and everything we're doing, we're running through, for example, ChatGPT to make sure that it has all the elements that we're looking for. The other area that we're using artificial intelligence is in our programs. For example, we have a program called Innovation Club for the empowerment of children and youth using our research, and with the help of parents as mentors or community members acting as mentors for youth, nightly 10 minutes, 15 minutes, watching, or reading what we are sending every day, and then asking questions from children or youth and listening to what they say and encourage to build their confidence, and also expose them to a lot of innovations in various fields: social innovation, technological, ecological, you name it. And so that we feel that using artificial intelligence for our research is really taking our initiative to a whole new level. Because this is, artificial intelligence, obviously, is like the expansion of the human consciousness. All the information that is available to humanity now is kind of in a very condensed and a very specific way. We ask a simple question or we give it instruction, and it can really give you exactly what you need, which is very unique. Previously, you do research, you do search on Google, and you get hundreds of websites, and you go and learn, and you try to figure it out. But now we're able to ask, for example, for a proposal. We ask for a perspective. We ask about the situation of the economy in Botswana, and it gives you a very comprehensive report, and it's aggregating all the various information data set that is available online, and it's giving it to us exactly in the format and in the scope of the research that we're looking for. So it's a very new place, and we are also in the process of constantly exploring. But we are really excited about potential, and of course we use it for our social enterprise program, where we're working with youth, helping them with starting their own social enterprise, an accelerator, and actually we teach them in that process how to use artificial intelligence at every step of the game. And so those are some of the things, and of course artificial intelligence in and of itself, and its impact in education, in agriculture, in technology, in nutrition. I mean, you name it. It's what we're finding that there is, you could say that humanity has never been at this level of literacy. And I mean literacy in the bigger sense of that we're learning about the planet, we're learning about human knowledge, and it's changing industries as we kind of delve into it and as we learn its potential and its capabilities. And it's just the most amazing sort of feeling of being able to do things that even a few years ago was very difficult to achieve. To write a proposal in an hour. A few years ago, it was impossible. You had to go do your research, and then you had to, look at each piece of information related. I mean, you're very familiar with that kind of what used to be very popular. But right now, we're really in a new territory. That it's like, the way I see it is that like consulting with 1,000,000 consultants at any given time.
That's
You
right.
know, you used to hire one consultant and that would cost a lot of money.
A lot of money.
But, you know, so the expertise concept that you're an expert or your specialization is changing very quickly. And I think that we're going to have in the very near future or already, we're going to have sort of the idea of a polymath, where somebody is an artist at the same time, a scientist, technologist, can do several things and bring them together, or at the same time with the level of efficiency that artificial intelligence makes possible.
And the global south in particular is the digital environment in terms of the fourth industrial revolution. Does it allow?
Yes.
Does it allow for, especially the communities that this model is dealing with? Does it allow them to be able to access, you know, that technology?
Yeah, I think it's a process. Obviously, the current education model is designed, was at the curriculum, public school curriculum, for example, in the US, China, and many countries, I'm sure in Botswana is the same. That model was created back in Industrial Revolution, the first Industrial Revolution. So we're talking a long time ago. And unfortunately, that for some reason hasn't changed. Maybe because of some educational philosophy, John Locke and Piaget, Erickson. That's a long conversation there we don't go into. But we're really in desperate need of changing that foundation, starting at 4 and 3 and 4 and 5, working with children, presenting parents with the opportunity to, let's say, watch a clip on innovation together, ask the child question, listen to what the child has to say and encourage. And that model, that very simple model, can really raise the consciousness of the masses at the very grassroots level. And as that child comes up and is exposed to a lot of innovation, then of course at higher level, we can get into social enterprise and identifying the path that that youth is going to take. And from there, basically, then once the goal is clear, then you can take a course from, let's say, a university in Botswana. You can take another course with a university in the US or Europe or some other place. But your path is clear. It's not like you get a degree and then you go look for a job, you know, and the degree was prescribed kind of or put together 20 years ago. But now you have the access. And also the other part of the social enterprise process and accelerator is that we can invite the entire community, whether professionals in various industries or even people who are in the previously maybe we would not consider, that they can come and share their experience in life. Whether somebody was, you know, just sweeping the streets or somebody was at the highest, you know, level of professional capacity, or somebody in the government, or somebody in the community, in the business community, that we can really unleash that reservoir of human resources, and to help young people who are going through the incubator or accelerator of the social enterprise, and one-on-one help them if that's their path. It relates to what they're. And also we're realizing that, you know, it used to be that you learn one specialization and that was already a lot. You know, you go and study for 8 years, and we're seeing a different model where you are basically, based on your background, your capacity, your talents, you engage, you find something that you really like, and then you really start moving on that path, and the community is aware of how you're proceeding and being able to support you in that process. So it could be combining a lot of different elements to create fields that even don't exist today. So we're opening doors that, as I spoke today at New Era College, that we're in a very new territory, and educational institutions must, by basically, I would say not by choice, but they must change in order to be able to meet the needs of the growing population and the picture that is evolving using the latest technology, specifically artificial intelligence being a major component of that process. So basically, we're looking at innovation in all fields, and also finding ways of really making the connection from where the people are at the level they are at, whether it's at the village level or in the city, and gradually bring them up to the level that they could be or meet their potential. So that process, obviously, it takes time. It's an organic process, and we're really excited to be a part of the development of Botswana, and we have been communicating with various organizations and government, and we are very excited about the potential of what can be done here that could be an example for the global community.
That's good. Now, one of the criticisms of traditional development models is that they are top-down and very paternalistic. You know, someone sitting at the government enclave in Gaborone decides what project or whatever a road should be in the countryside and stuff, and the communities are left out. Now, in the balanced development model, what is your vision in terms of engaging everybody in the process?
Obviously, what we are proposing is a three-dimensional model: social, economic, ecological. So we feel like social must be a major part of any development planning. In other words, developing the human potential and what we also call human capital, that must come first. Because to the degree that you develop your human resources, to that degree you can see prosperity and advancement in the community. And of course, with the help of the country's natural resources as well. But primarily, where we have not really paid a lot of attention in the past, and we've been mostly involved in, we have been looking at the natural resources. By adding value to human resources in the country, we can really raise the level of consciousness and therefore the level of development in a way that engages the whole society. And it's not just about the economy. So currently, for example, when you are in the job market and you find a job, you spend most of your time, making ends meet, because the cost of living keeps, constantly is rising. In this model, when you develop those human resources, then we can use tools such as artificial intelligence to really bring them up to a level of proficiency and to a level of entrepreneurship that could be an example for the global community. So those are very possible, but of course, it takes everybody. As you we were talking earlier, it takes a village to raise a child.
Raise a child, yes. Yes, very good. Very good. I think we are going to take a break, and then we'll continue our conversation on the other side of the break.
Do you want to stay in touch with the up-to-the-minute breaking news, countrywide, regional, and international coverage, as well as in-depth analysis from Botswana's most trusted media house? Then head over to www.megi.bw, where you can also enjoy access to premium articles, long reads, features, and exclusive opinions. Whether you're looking for updates on politics, health, education, business, and the economy, or sports, and many more, we have you covered. Sign up on the website and choose a package suitable for you. We also have packages for organizations at affordable rates. Visit www.megi.bw and enjoy the finest journalism and news you need to know. Do you want to stay in touch with the up-to-the-minute breaking news countrywide, regional and international coverage, as well as in-depth analysis from Botswana's most trusted media house? Then head over to www.megi.bw, where you can also enjoy access to premium articles, long reads, features, and exclusive opinions. Whether you're looking for updates on politics, health, education, business and the economy, or sports, and many more, we have you covered. Sign up on the website and choose a package suitable for you. We also have packages for organizations at affordable rates. Visit www.megi.bw and enjoy the finest journalism and news you need to know.
Welcome back to the public square. We are in conversation this week with Mr. Ramses Rashidi. He's the Executive Director of Center for Balanced Development. Welcome back, Mr. Rashidi.
Thank you so much.
Just following up on what you said before the break. Can you just explain to me how, for instance, you would turn a traditional business model into a social enterprise?
Sure. I think first and foremost, what we see, the model that seemed to be very popular is what we call copying. In other words, somebody starts a business that is very successful and everybody copies that model. And actually, I was talking to a young man, and he said, Mr. Rashidi, there's no need to create something new. You just copy somebody who's successful, and everything will be fine. Yeah. So a lot of times, so there is oversupply of a certain kind of a service, and some areas that the society really needs help with is being ignored. So first and foremost, I think that if we were to come and consult with such a business, first we will identify some of the needs in the community that would be related to what the business is capable of doing. And once that understanding is there, through consultation with the management, then we come up with some ideas how we can address some of the needs of the community using the resources at the existing business. So it's a gradual process of consultation, action, reflection. But what happens is that in that process, gradually, we take the business and start to orient it in that direction. Also in terms of, for example, a lot of businesses, the only model that they had was that a transaction. Mm-hmm. That I give you something, you give me money, but we're realizing with some of the biggest companies that have been created, for example, that offer a free service. We're talking about Google, Facebook, many platforms. In the early days, it was Netscape that pioneered in this field. So you have a premium services and you have something that you can offer the community, maybe for a small fee or as a service, as a community service. Those are some of the things that not only attracts, the community to your business, but also you're really addressing the needs of the community at all levels, especially people who are not able to afford the level of services that you're providing, let's say, to a higher level of community in terms of affluency or affluent, they're able to buy your products and services. So those are some of the things that we can talk about in the process, but primarily is really to understand where the needs of the community are today at this point, and where are the opportunities that we can be of service, and find ways and models of how to get the funding if the funding is not available from the people who are receiving the service. For example, how the government can support such initiatives that would really help the business, and also it would not deprive a portion of the society from being able to reach out and buy that product or buy that service. So there are various models, but there is a social element in mind. It's not purely a supply and demand model. It goes a little bit beyond that scope, as well as it can be also in the sense that how we contribute to the environment and to the balance in the ecological arena. So there are many options. With our balanced development model, we're looking at any social enterprise from those perspectives, social as well as economic and ecological. So it makes a difference. And of course, the other aspect of it is how you're running your company. What is the relationship between the management and the employee? Or how is the communication happening? Is there profit sharing in the company? How are you connecting with the community? So the old model was you put out these ads and you attract
maximize
buyers,
profit.
and so that will when we start to look at the idea of community building within the context of economy, as well as improving the environment. So there are a lot of possibilities, a lot of doors open up in that process.
That's right. Very well. You said earlier that the balanced development model is organic, kind of starts from the center out.
Yes.
How are you going to measure the success of this model? Of course, one takes into consideration the fact that it's going to be gradual, it's going to take time. But as you go, how do you then measure its effectiveness and success?
I think what we have seen over the last 29 years of being engaged in this process, whether it was in China initially and then in the US, and now we're in 68 countries. So the paradigm that sort of progress by the fruits. Mm-hmm. When you see the fruits are ripe and they're really like ready to be used. So I think that in this model, unlike the assessment systems what we had in the past, as we go, we should be talking to each other. We should be talking to the community. If the parents are doing mentorship of each other, we should be having meetings and seeing how successful they are, where their problems are. So I think there is engagement with the community as we engage, and also listen to their feedback. Also listen to the kids, to children, and see what they're saying, how they're feeling. Do they like this model? Do they enjoy this process? When we were doing this program in public schools in Southern California, the children would come to us and said, "Uncle, how, and like we were almost at the last week." Mm-hmm. And they would ask us, "Uncle, are you coming back next week?" And I said, "No, sorry." And they were so sad, because for the first time, somebody was asking them questions and allowing them to express themselves. For the first time, they got an opportunity to express, and they would share some of the very private conversations probably was happening at their home. They were really hungry for expressing themselves. And so that's where we are ourselves, when we see that, we know. Or, of course, the facility, for example, in the school system, our facilitators would take notes each time and they would write, for example, out of 6 activities that over 1 hour we did in that segment, which activities were 10 or 5 or 1, which activity, and we would make changes immediately the next week. So as we move forward, we were like at the end of the last semester, when we were finishing the year, we were hitting 10 for all of the 6 activities. And they were writing in glowing terms that the kids were responding tremendously. And they were expressing some ideas that probably they never learned. I think that's the ability, earlier we were talking about the ability of a child in the early stages of life, the first year and a half, learning their first language without really much effort, without books, without teaching curriculums and so on. So, and we identified that in that first year and a half, the thing that the kids receive most is love. They receive a lot of love. What if we could duplicate that model in the entire system of education? And instead of a disciplinary approach, we really treat kids as if though they were our best friends, and we encourage them to express themselves, find methodology that they are constantly engaged, and the traditional model of teacher-student relationship, or that disciplinary, classroom management that we can, and we have seen with our model, without resorting to disciplinary action, the kids right away start to cooperate, because they see that we are interested to know what they think or what they can do. Whether they can draw a picture and come and explain to everybody what that picture means, or whether they're writing a story, or they're writing a poem or a role play, they come and do it. So if we can especially use the arts in that process, so that's obviously, but in other terms, for example, in business, if the business is doing well and using the social enterprise model, that's, the dollar amount, it shows you that is working. And of course, with government, if we are coming up with solutions that is really inclusive and is taking country to a higher level, we see the GDP increasing. Those are great indicators of progress. And of course, social, economic, ecological. And we're seeing that the sky still is blue and the grass is green, and we have parks and trees. And so unlike the past where we were so reliant on paper exams, having something on paper, and it was a deficiency model. When you had 3 questions that you got wrong, with a red marker, you would see those the first thing comes to you is that you didn't have 7 right, but you had 3 wrong answers, So, yeah.
That's right. Now, government is an important stakeholder in any enterprise or activity that involves the community, even business. What kind of interface does the business, rather the Center for Balanced Development, have with governments in those places where it's operating?
Obviously, we have, as Mr. Kamalabadi also mentioned in his interview, we have developed a platform for the basically the development of the first human resources and the economy simultaneously, and also that in that process, we really engage, in a process of consultation with the entire business community, educational institutions, as well as, and listen to their concerns. So we're looking at the whole thing as one organic entity, that everything is like the parts